Chapter 7, July, 7th Chords. July 1st, whenever I'm on tour and I'm in my hotel room and I'm writing and playing my guitar, I go in the bathroom and record whatever I'm writing in there. It's just what I love to do. Colby Calais. I fully resonate with this. For one, the natural acoustics found in most bathrooms is great. There is reverb and even some echo depending on how big the space is, so recording something in there makes a lot of sense sonically. The other aspect of this quote that should not be ignored is the fact that you can create music and beauty anywhere, even in a bathroom. You don't have to be looking out the ocean, hiking through the woods, or on the top of a mountain to find inspiration for songwriting. It can happen in the middle of a tour in a hotel bathroom. For me, it's a reminder that no matter where you are or what circumstance you might find yourself in, take your guitar out and write a song about it. It's a wonderful pastime and something very much needed to cope with all life throws at us. July 2nd, I just love playing guitar, so that's what I'm going to do. St. Vincent. You go, St. Vincent. I love that you are so intent on doing something you, in fact, love. And it doesn't seem like there's any budging or negotiating that at all, which is even better. This means you know wholeheartedly what it is that gives you joy, purpose, and fulfillment, and you fully intend to do it no matter what. There is a great life lesson here. Do what you love, and you'll never have to work in the traditional sense of the word working as a 9-to-5 job a day in your life. The conviction and confidence one must have in themselves to do the thing they love is quite inspiring as well. Some people spend their whole lives searching for that thing and never find it. To know what that thing is at any age, especially at a young age, is truly a blessing. Don't let anyone discourage or pull you away from it. July 3rd. I started teaching myself guitar because I love singing so much. Then one day, kind of out of the blue, I found I was writing a song. It just happened organically. Quina Granis. Putting yourself in a position to succeed is the best thing we can do for ourselves. This is exactly what Quina was doing when she started playing guitar due to her love of singing. She was putting herself fully in the moment, giving her ample opportunities to not only sing, but start writing songs due to her own musical accompaniment. She probably didn't realize she was doing this at first because I'm guessing she was so excited just to be playing and writing that the thought didn't cross her mind. It sounds like she didn't force it to happen either, which is even better. I can imagine her sitting down on her back deck, watching the sunset with her guitar in hand, strumming along and humming whatever melody came to her mind. And before she knew it, she was writing a full song. To keep it as natural and organic as possible is a ticket to great songwriting. The second it starts to feel programmed, robotic, stagnant, or premeditated is the second we must either stop or tell ourselves to lighten up and enjoy the process. Although it may be hard to be fully aware of this in the moment, it's worth keeping in our back pocket for such an occasion. July 4th. It turns out kids today still learn that 4-chord progression when they're just picking up the guitar. John Schofield. There's nothing wrong with a solid 4-chord progression. In fact, this is all it really takes to write a catchy popular song anyway. 4 chords played in a familiar yet unique enough way to reel someone in, including yourself. Let's face it, there are thousands upon thousands of songs that use just 4 chords, whether they are the same 4 chords in the same order for the entire song or the same 4 chords mixed and matched and played in a different order throughout a song. 4 chords, and the truth is all you need. It doesn't need to be fancy, played crazy fast, change time signatures, change keys, or anything else that might complicate the sound or song. Keeping it simple can very much be where you live with your musical endeavors. And if you want to learn more, great. There's a whole lot more chords and nuanced ways to play to go around. July 5th, I tried to emulate my favorite guitar players, the old bluesmen like Blind Willie McTell and Bill Big Brunzi. I used to sit by the record player and copy Chuck Berry and the Beatles. You can never copy someone completely, so you end up developing your own style. Ronnie Wood. This is so true, Ronnie. It's great to have people to look up to or aspire to be, but trying to copy them exactly word for word, guitar solo by guitar solo, their accent and mannerisms is difficult to say the least. I mean, to do that would require studying videos, listening to interviews, and dissecting every single piece of tape you can get your hands on. There just isn't enough hours in the day to do so. Picking a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person, and then developing your own style from the characteristics or attributes you enjoy from various people is one thing. In fact, this is how a lot of musicians cut their teeth and create their own unique path. Even if you were to copy someone exactly, it would mean that you wouldn't truly be yourself either. The world has enough copycats and wannabes. Being yourself is the best and only thing you ought to be doing anyway. Everyone else is already taken. July 6th. My brother was very important to me, and he played guitar. So that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a guitar player. So he was the first one to inspire me to do something with my life, and I was so glad that he was there. Bootsy Collins. I love to hear that a sibling can be important. To me, of course they are. When my brother and I were younger, we used to get into little scrap fights, play Ghostbusters, ride bikes, play tag, as well as a lot of baseball and soccer on the front porch and backyard. Although he hasn't specifically said this out loud, I have a feeling that my brother wanted to be a little like me. He definitely wanted to keep up with me, and I believe fueled his desire to be better than me at whatever he could. This, in turn, could have played a role in him being a soccer standout at such a young age, putting himself in a position to play professionally for 11 years. The fact that Bootsy wanted to be just like his brother with guitar playing doesn't surprise me. It's a way to bond with a sibling, create beautiful sounds together over and over again. It's hard for me to think of a better way to spend time, being with family, doing something beautiful through music. July 7th. I've always been at war with the guitar. All vocalists are fighting a war with the electro rhythm guitar. Nick Cave. Although I do understand where Nick is coming from, as I am a vocalist who has battled with distorted electric guitars in the past, I like to present another way of looking at this. Plain and simple, We don't have to be at war with the guitar or any instrument for that matter. The two, guitar and voice, or whatever instrument is at hand and voice, should be able to work together as a team, complementing each other. When you're in a truly creative and collaborative environment, you don't want instruments to be battling with each other, competing for who can be the loudest or steal the show. This isn't doing what's best for the song, but rather what's best for the musician's ego. And it's never a good place to be, boosting the musician's ego. In order to create the best song, whether you are writing a song, recording it in the studio, or performing it live, egos have to be checked at the door. All that has to happen is a casual yet direct conversation with each member of the band, stating their case as to why this part on this particular instrument, including the voice, has to be performed at the time it is being performed. If people are really being honest with themselves, they will be aware that the fact that maybe Nick is right and the guitar is too loud in this section here. There's a way to have this conversation that is loving yet gets your point across at the same time. It's an art, really, but it can and ought to be done. Otherwise, too much friction and resentment can be created between musicians, bandmates, and friends. July 8th, I had to be reminded that the guitar is infinite. It never stops teaching you. It never stops being difficult. There's an unlimited amount of things to learn. You'll never master it. Cocky king. This quote might seem a bit depressing at first glance. However, the deeper you dig into it and look at it from a different point of view, it ought to inspire us to keep on going. Let's break it down point by point. 1, the guitar is infinite. You'll never master it. There are so many ways to play the guitar, as previously detailed throughout this book and others. So many tunings to play around with, so many genres to play in, so many time signatures to play in, and several keys as well. And though the guitar is finite, because it's made of wood and is a physical, tangible instrument, it is infinite in what you can do with it. Plus, let's not forget that there is no way to know every single song ever written or performed. There's just not enough time or resource to actually do that. And this is okay. It shouldn't stop us from starting or stop us after we've been at it for a while. Keep on exploring the wonderful nature of this amazing string instrument. Number 2, it never stops teaching you. There's an unlimited amount of things to learn. It's a great thing to continually learn something. This is what we ought to be doing in life anyway. Learning new things every day, expanding our repertoire, and growing as a result to become a better version of ourselves. Again, an inspirational message for us to contemplate. Number 3, it never stops being difficult. Notice how he said difficult and not impossible. Just because something is difficult doesn't mean we should stop doing it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We ought to be running towards it more to overcome challenges, obstacles, or roadblocks along the way. This will inevitably make us more resilient over time. July 9th, when Tom Morello picks up the guitar, I'm sure what he sees is totally different from what I do, but I love the way he plays. Joe Perry. That's the beauty of guitar, music, and life. This is A-okay. With guitar, yes, Tom Morello might see the guitar as a tool to express himself in a completely different ways than the traditional way of playing guitar. After all, he does have a distinct sound, an experiential kind of thinking and playing the electric guitar specifically, and we love him for it, because without his influence, the current and all generations to follow will have missed out on his genius. As it pertains to life, even though we all look out at the sky and see it, we might be seeing different shades of blue. If it's a clear sunny day, white or gray, if there are some clouds, or it's 100% cloudy, and the range of colors found in a rainbow. We love nature just the same as we love each and every person who creates beautiful music. As different as the colors and all kinds of nature may be, we appreciate and are grateful for what each has to offer. July 10th, commercial radio is owned by 1 or 2 corporations now, and they're not in the music business. They're in the advertising business. So let's not kid ourselves. If you want to hear music, go buy a guitar. Elvis Costello. As sad as it is to admit this, it is true. FM radio stations nowadays have to make sure they cover the airtime they are paying to have that specific number on the dial. So after every couple songs, and in some cases after every song, there was a commercial with a local, regional, or national company who has paid the radio station to have their product or company name set in the air for all who are listening at that given time. It's a great way to get your business or product out there, but it can be a pain in the you-know-what if you just want to hear music. And it's not just on commercial radio anymore. It's on digital streaming services like Spotify and video content juggernaut YouTube. On YouTube, there are certain videos that have commercials mid-song or mid-podcast or interview, but I digress. At the end of the day, if you want to hear the music, the whole music and nothing but the music, get yourself a guitar or any instrument for that matter, and play to your and everyone else who's listening's heart's desire. July 11th, each guitar has its own character and personality, which can be magnified once the player engages in beating it up. Billy Givens. I can speak from experience that my Martin guitar looks and sounds nothing like my Yamaha guitar. The only thing that's the same is that they both have 6 strings. Those strings are different kinds of strings, usually mixed and matched because I've broken a random one along the way. Both guitars are brown, but one is much darker than the other. The necks on each are different, the Martin being thicker than the Yamaha. The tuning knobs are even different, as well as the bridges, and wow, do they each produce a different sound. The Martin is a much warmer, deeper, and richer overall. I've noticed that over the years, the Martin has aged like a fine wine as well. It continues to sound better and better the longer I have it and play it. Conversely, the music really jumps off of the Yamaha if I play it in an upbeat way. Of course, this all depends on the person playing it. If I were to play each guitar in a finger-picking style, then the sound would obviously be lighter and more intimate. If I were to play each guitar in a rock'em sock'em kind of way, then the sound would be a lot louder and in your face. Each have their own time and place. July 12th. When you play the guitar, you don't have to say nothing. The girls would say something to you, buddy guy. This is genius and works at multiple levels. One, no matter what we set out to do in life, it's best to let our playing, our work, aka our actions, not just speak louder than our words, but speak for themselves. It's much more of a humble way to live. If you're shy and you're not sure how to approach the opposite sex, the guitar and other instruments as well is a great instrument to get someone's attention. When you see someone playing the guitar, be it acoustic or electric, there's just something alluring and magnetic about it that's hard to describe. Just by playing in a place where people can see, people will inevitably come up to you and to start a conversation. They're intrigued, they're fascinated, and that's what makes you intriguing, fascinating, and even a bit mysterious. July 13th. I have no guitar technique. Warren Zevin. Oh, Warren, I believe you do have a guitar technique because everyone has some sort of technique, whether it's traditional, formal, theoretical way of playing the guitar is debatable, and this is perfectly okay. Sometimes the best things in life are discovered by accident, by trial and error, and just by being in the moment, not thinking about what's technically right or wrong. You might end up discovering a new way to play that no one has thought of before. You might end up combining a few different ways of playing and then create your own style. Either way, there is always some sort of technique. July 14th. I always use the same guitar. I got the guitar years ago for £9. It's still got the same strings on it. Brian Eno. I love it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I am the same way as it pertains to guitars, as well as all the music instruments and most things I own. If I have the instrument and it works for me, I continue to use it day in and day out. For instance, I have 3 guitars, 2 acoustic, Martin acoustic electric, and Yamaha acoustic, and 1 electric Fender Stratocaster. The Fender has the same string on it from when I bought it close to 10 years ago. There's been no need to change them. They still sound good. In the end, it makes life a lot easier. I don't have to worry about fixing strings, buying the latest and greatest guitar to keep up with the Joneses, or having to collect and then sell or give away things. I save a lot of money, mental energy, and physical space this way. So keep on rocking on the same guitar, Brian. Keep on rocking. July 15th. I played Eruption 2 times for the record, and we kept the one that seemed to flow. There's a mistake at the top end of it whenever I hear it. I always think, man, I could have played it better, but I like the way it sounds. I never hear a guitar sound like that before. Eddie Van Halen. This about sums up the pursuit of excellence. Eddie Van Halen, who is arguably one of the best guitarists of all time, is admitting that he could have played a particular part of one of the most prolific guitar riffs or solos that exists better. Of course, there was always a way to play guitar better, do whatever it is you are setting out to do better, or just be an overall better person. It's striving for excellence, but not perfection. No one and nothing is perfect. The key is to not beat yourself up if you somehow fail to hit the mark every single day of your life. Give yourself a break. Be kind to yourself. Even the best of the best miss shots, strike out, or have an off day. Eddie created his own unique way of playing as he did not know how to read music or know theory at all, and went on to create awesome musical selections of his and plenty of others' liking. So kudos to you, sir, for following the muse and doing something quite unique in the realm of music. The world is better off for it, and for you being in it. July 16th. I've come to the point in my evolution on the instrument where I realized that I can't play the same stuff that just a guitar player or organ player would play, and I needed to embrace that in a big way. Charlie Hunter. Just the fact that Charlie came to this realization at all is wonderful. It's not always obvious to us what our best gifts, skills, talents are right away. We may have to go through periods of trial and error, searching and even doubt to figure out what it is we are called to do with our time and energy. If we can't do so ourselves, hopefully we have someone in our corner shed that light on us. And if we aren't lucky to have either happen, then we could very well go through life without truly using our gifts and talents for the betterment of each other and the earth as a whole. So I would encourage you to not only discover what it is we're all put on this earth to do, and it couple be multiple things, but to do it in our own unique way. Embrace your silliness, your quirks and idiosyncrasies. Embrace how you play the guitar. Maybe it's a completely new and different style no one has seen before, and you are the one who created it. Maybe it's a little bit of Jimi Hendrix mixed with a little bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan with a touch of Joe Walsh. Whatever the case may be, don't fight it. Embrace it. July 17th. I'm thinking about learning a few new things, like taking classical guitar lessons, and I like to bring what I learn into hard rock. Mick Mars. It's never too late to learn something new. The older I get, the more I do everything in my power to embody that phrase. You can teach an old dog new tricks. That is, if the dog is willing to learn. If not, then you've already learned everything you're going to learn. That would be a shame, though, because you are basically stunting your own growth and education on the premise that I can't learn anything new or I don't have time for that. These are just excuses which stifle creativity, ingenuity, and becoming the best version of yourself. So, Mick, if you want to learn classical guitars and then bring what you learn into hard rock, then by all means, go for it. I believe it's a worthy endeavor, and you should too. Don't think about learning a few new things. Actually, go learn new things. Put yourself out there. Do the work. The only person stopping you is you. July 18th. I think the way I play the guitar is very percussive. I play a lot of rhythm chops as though I were playing congas or something. Tommy Bolin. Tommy. You are speaking my language now. I know the way I play guitar is very percussive as well. I literally knock or slap my guitar in between strums to create more of a duo feel and give the song I'm playing a little more oomph to fully engage the listeners or the audience. For certain songs, I play the guitar very much how the drums in that song actually go. Essentially, I'm tuning my guitar into a percussive instrument while still playing it like a string instrument. Multitasking and multi-purposing simultaneously. It's a lot of fun and not only challenges me while doing it, but provides a fun, unique, and interesting experience to whoever is present. I found this is my best plan of attack as it pertains to playing live because I play solo. If I were to just play one guitar in the traditional way and use one microphone when performing, it would be a bit boring to anyone in the room. But since I play it like a drum using a microphone and sometimes a loop station, it creates much more of a dynamic feel to the performance. It sounds as if 3 people are up on stage, even though it's just me, myself, and I. The moral of the story is to have fun with what you're doing and paving your own path with the tools you've gained along the way and continue to pick up every day. July 19th. In any moment, I guess we could whip out a guitar and start playing old school, Kyle Gass. Darn tootin', Kyle. This is the beauty of being able to play guitar. Not only is it an instrument most people are immediately drawn to, it is very portable. As long as you have a place to store it, backseat of a car, in the corner of a room, and a gig bag, you can bring it with you anywhere. In fact, it is welcomed in many social circles as a nice treat to spice things up a bit. So I say, whip up that guitar anytime, anywhere, Kyle, and play to your heart's desire. In a world where technology rules the roost, we desperately need more of this old school way of thinking and playing. July 20th. Martin guitars are now brought out, on a more traditional level, the Stephen Stills model of Martin guitars. It's beautiful. I just went inside. I bought one immediately, Graham Nash. I still remember the first time I walked into the Martin Guitar Factory. It was magical. Almost every part of the guitar making process is still done with human hands, at least it was 10 years ago, which was nice to know. There was something special about that place, the smell of the wood, the sound of the craftsman chiseling away at the wood, the pure, raw, and honest and awe feelings you get when looking at all the guitars created over the years. It's no surprise to me that anyone who set foot in a place like Martin Guitar Factory would walk out of there with a guitar. Being a Martin guitar lover and owner myself, the instrument continues to sound better over time. Its warm, rich, and round sound ages like a fine wine. July 21st. If I want to be moved by the track, I don't want it to be sequenced. I want it to be somebody playing the guitar, piano, or a horn arrangement where you can hear the breath. You can almost smell the studio while listening to the music. For me, that's what moves me emotionally. That's what I came from. I think that's always going to work best for me. Eric Benet. Breathe it in, Eric. Breathe it in. When you put it like this, it's like an all-out, full-body sensory experience, and I couldn't agree more. When I hear a song, I want to put myself in the shoes of the songwriter and artist. Where were they when the song was written? What were they thinking when piecing all the various instrumental parts together? Who were they thinking of to sing harmony with them in a particular part of the song? To know that a song was written and recorded in a very natural, organic way with real instruments and not synthesizers or effects like autotune by real people is what it's all about. For others, it might not matter that much. They might think, so what? I just like the beat and the music being played and don't pay attention to the words. For me, it's easier to connect with the song and the writer-performer knowing this kind of information. It's the emotion that is conveyed through the performance of a song in a pure way that had me at hello, if you will, to each his own. July 22nd. I had been playing single-note instruments and I wanted to hear a guitar played as a piano. Leo Kotke. Using any instrument in a non-traditional way is always fun, exciting, interesting, and exploratory. It's diving into the unknown. It's putting your faith in something you haven't seen or heard in the past. It's breaking new ground on something. There's a bit of scariness that comes with that, though, because you don't really know how it's going to go for the first time you try it. I say go for it. Why not? You might stumble upon something you never thought of before. You might open up a whole new way of playing an instrument or combining 2 instruments to create this never-heard-before, one-of-a-kind sound. Since we're talking about the guitar being played as a piano here, I'm assuming that Leo laid his guitar down on his lap and played it how a piano is played with his left hand and right hand in unison on different parts of the guitar, pressing down and up off of it so as to play a full sounding chord. Or maybe it was playing single notes with one hand and a chord with the other. If neither is the case, it's a neat thought experiment to imagine how it could be played, though. July 23rd. I've always thought that the act of playing the guitar was the actor trying to make a point of playing the guitar. Mick Ronson. Deep, profound, existential, or is it? To me, it is more of a statement on the person playing the guitar rather than saying all guitarists think of playing the guitar in this way. I believe that if someone's intentions were pure and honest, then this code is immediately disproved. For instance, if someone sought to play the guitar because they enjoyed the sounds created and continued playing it for the greater good, then the act of trying to make a point of playing guitar isn't true. However, if someone's intentions are not pure, then the quote rings true loud and clear. For instance, if someone sought to play the guitar because they wanted to become famous, to get all the girls, and to make a lot of money, then the act of trying to make a point of playing the guitar is 100% spot on. The difference between the two is a matter of service, the former being serving others, and the latter being serving oneself. In life, the more we turn the attention away from ourselves, the more people will respect us. It's letting our work speak for itself rather than us speaking for our work. July 24th. I didn't want to take the guitar solos down note for note, but more or less use them as a map and keep all the hooks from the guitar playing and let myself come through. Brian Setzer. I like this idea a lot. In order to create something original all the time, we need to leave the appropriate amount of space to do so. If we have a musical part already written or created, say on a recording or jamming with other musicians in a band that is set in stone, that's great. However, there needs to be room to play with it a bit, especially when playing live in front of an audience. If there isn't room to do so, then your performance could fall flat. It's not just that exciting to play the same thing over and over again, expecting people to get into it. The people want
something unique, something familiar yet new and interesting. Otherwise, they'll just go to the next band or artist doing just that. Instead, if you use a guitar part, or any musical part for that matter in the grand scheme of things, like a flexible, adjustable map, you can play the basic core of the riff or solo, veering off to the left or right if need be, going off on tangents at will, and then bring it back to whatever everyone knows to be that solo as well. There's a lot more fluidity, fun, inspiration, and innovation with this. When you do this, you most certainly let your true colors shine through, and your unique self will be clear as day for all listening and or watching.
July 25th. From 1962 to 1965, the guitar became this icon of youth culture, thanks mostly to the Beatles, Pat Metheny. So true. I would go so far as to say that it is still an icon of youth culture, even with all the tablets, devices, and distractions of today. It is still really cool to play the guitar. Heck, it's still cool to look at and talk about guitars, even if you don't play one, but I digress. I've always been a firm believer that you can blame a lot of things on the Beatles in the best kind of ways. For one, a lot of current music takes inspiration and influence from the Fab Four. Not only that, but they made playing the sitar cool. They also made meditation and spirituality cool. They reminded us that through peace, love, understanding, and compassion, the world can be a great place to live in. They showed us that you can have a wonderful career in music without even being able to read a single musical note. They proved that by putting in 10,000 hours, you can become a master of your craft. For these reasons, and I'm sure much more, the Beatles are to blame, or should I say, credit. July 26th. There are two kinds of music. One comes from the strings of a guitar, the other from the strings of the heart, Michael Jackson. I absolutely love this quote. The secret and key to creating long-lasting, meaningful, impactful music is by combining these two ideas, taking what is speaking to or tugging at your heartstrings, and then putting those feelings and emotions onto the guitar strings. If you only have one without the other, you will miss the mark or not even be in the mix to hit any kind of mark to begin with. There's a certain kind of magic that the great songwriters and performers have, embody, and then emote to the audience, which separates them from everyone else. It's hard to teach it. You either have it or you don't, and it's up to you to first discover it and then bring out into the light for all to witness. July 27th. There was just no way I could leave this little Martin guitar in my apartment overnight or even in the afternoon and expect to find it there when I got back. Steve Forbear. I totally understand where you're coming from, Steve. Of course, this quote only makes sense if you have roommates or live with other people. It's like leaving candy out in the open on the dining room table and expecting none of it to be gone when you get back. It's just not going to happen. It's too much of a temptation. The immediate satisfaction and reward one gets from eating candy is too high to resist, and the same applies for a guitar, and a Martin guitar at that. I can attest to this with 100% certainty because I have a Martin acoustic electric guitar. It's hard for me to leave it in the music room all day and not play it if I'm home. If I live with other musicians, there is no way the guitar would still be there when I got back. I wouldn't consider it stealing or borrowing something that wasn't yours without asking either. I would chalk it up to the fact that there was something special about guitars, and definitely a Martin guitar, that calls out for you to play it. It's not meant to just sit there in the corner collecting dust. It's meant to be touched, handled, loved, and played. July 28th. I'm working on guitars for free because I love working on guitars anyway. Yngwie Malmsteen. If you love what you do, then it doesn't feel like work at all. There's an old quote that goes, if you love what you do, then you'll never work a day in your life. So it does make sense that you would do it for free if given the chance, which is exactly what Yngwie is speaking to here. It's awesome that someone of his stature as a musician would work on guitars in his free time. I can imagine how him having his own workstation in his garage, noodling away, fixing guitars for friends, as well as perfect strangers with a big smile on his face for hours on end. This is exactly the right kind of happy-go-lucky, positive spirit we all ought to adopt into our daily lives for the things and people we love. July 29th. I tried to make guitars that were close to what my heroes played. That's the way it's done. My experience is that you have to do it like a musician. You have to learn the language before you can learn to be a novelist. Paul Reed Smith. I can't think of a better way to practice and perfect your craft by making something close to what those you looked up to did, as well as play or play. In this case, Paul says that the only way for him to create a guitar is to make one for and like his favorite guitarist. Be the ball, if you will. Here it's be the guitarist. You have to think like a guitarist in order to make a guitar for them. Essentially becoming the guitarist and all the thoughts, feelings, emotions that come from playing an instrument of this nature. How do your fingers feel against the strings? How is the action on it? How does it sound plugged in? How does it sound unplugged? How does it feel when you hold it with the strap on? Does it hurt? Does it feel just right? All of these questions must be answered honestly so you can make a guitar worthy for a guitarist to play and continue to come back to day in and day out. Otherwise, you're just grasping at straws or throwing shots in the dark, hoping that you're creating something special for others to use. July 30th. It's very important to have a good song, one where you can strip away all the production and just play it on guitar or at the piano. It has to hold its own. That's why I put videos online with acoustic versions of my songs so you can hear them in their original form. Lights. Yes, yes, yes. I 100% wholeheartedly agree. It's easy to hide behind the fancy bells and whistles of studio magic with synthesizers, autotune, and all the other extraneous sounds and musical melodies put into a well-produced recording. The real litmus test is to see if the song can hold its own without those in place, but just acoustic guitar and voice. In short, if a song cannot be stripped down to just one instrument, one voice stand on its own, then my shared humble opinion, it's not a good song. This doesn't mean that you can't tweak a song to fit into this mold, but it does mean that what you might have currently is not good enough. Keep chipping away at it, and you'll know when you've hit the mark, so to speak. It will be obvious. July 31st. I'm really getting better at guitar. I'm not trapped behind a piano. You can get out and move with a guitar and still direct the band. Carol King. Awesome. You most certainly can move around with a guitar on stage, simply due to the fact that you have a strap and can take the show on the road, if you will. The guitar is a much more flexible and mobile instrument than a piano. I've had a lot of fun singing and playing guitar in various bands and solo over the years. There's nothing like being able to move around while performing and expressing yourself creatively in front of your bandmates, family, friends, and an audience.